Welcome to Leading Beyond Limits, the podcast where we explore the extraordinary journeys and insights of remarkable leaders who have pushed the boundaries of what's possible. Your host, Angel Radcliffe, who is a digital transformation leader, author, speaker, and financial educator, will lead each episode and dive deep into the stories, strategies, and philosophies that have empowered these exceptional individuals to lead, inspire, and achieve beyond the ordinary. We're about to embark on a journey of discovery and inspiration, and together, we'll learn what it takes to lead beyond limits. So grab your cape, or at least your favorite coffee mug, because we're about to unravel the extraordinary tales of trailblazers who've turned impossible into I'm possible. Let's get started.
Oh, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Angel, for having me here. It's my pleasure to be with you on your show.
I'm happy to have you on. And just in our conversation in the pre-show, it sounds like you are very passionate about leadership development. And I'm so excited to get into this conversation. One of my favorite topics I've been saying lately outside of finance and technology, but this is something that I'm very passionate about, and it sounds like you are as well. So how about
Yes.
you start off and just give us a little bit of a background on you?
Sure. Angel, I'm based out of Washington, D.C. metro area, and I've just transitioned from my 20 years of corporate job into an entrepreneurial journey as a transformation speaker and a leadership coach. And I help people manifest their growth and development by fostering positive habits. And with my keynote speech, such as The Art of Mind Talk, Craft Your Reality, I share insight from my book, Habits for Miracles. And I specialize in empowering new managers through my trailblazing leadership workshop, fostering essential leadership skills. Very much passionate to help people, help leaders. And I get happy, or my inner heart goes beeping when I see someone getting success through the conversation that I had with him or her, or through any intervention that I had with them. That's a guiding light for my own self, and that's really keep me motivating and keep me going day in, day out.
Awesome. And I saw on your profile you are from India. So you've
Mhm.
immigrated here to the US. Can you talk to us about that and share, like, when exactly did you move to the US? Was it during college or after college? Were you already in your career journey?
Sure. I did my MBA in human resources in India, and I was working in an information technology firm as an HR executive. And I worked there for 3.5 years. And post that, I was getting bored with my job, and I was looking out for something different. I gave a few interviews, but realized that not that is not that will keep me going. So I thought of upgrading myself, going for another degree, and I chose a degree in organization development. And that's where, back in 2002, I came to States and pursued my master's degree in organization development from Bowling Green State University.
Let me ask this question, and I know some people listening may be interested as well. So you've started your career in another country.
Mhm.
Is HR relatively, from what you've seen and what you've experienced, is there a huge difference in human resources? Or if there is, can you share with us anything different that you've noticed?
So definitely laws are different, Angel. However, my profile was more on the corporate HR, and I was focusing more on recruiting, learning and development, and being as a partner to our employees. So those aspects really don't change a whole lot. But when you talk about the laws, definitely there are laws are different. The environment is different. The working environment is different. So one of the key things I noticed is the autonomy, the empowerment that the employees get. I have seen it more here in the States. And then I'm talking about 20 years back, Angel. So I'm sure things have changed. Today, India is also growing up leaps and bounds, and a lot of changes happening. But when it comes to recruitment and selection or learning and development, it is pretty much same. The major difference comes into those labor laws and probably the compliance pieces. Those are the major difference. And unfortunately, I did not touch base on those aspects of HR either in my journey in India or in the US, but pretty much is the same.
I'm always curious, just the approaches that other professionals take in various countries. So curious to know, since you started out in human resources, how has that background helped shape your approach on leadership development? I would think coming into that particular role in HR and you're seeing all these people come in, you have the opportunity to review various programs, review skills that employees have. How has that influenced your approach to leadership development?
Very much. One thing I would say that choosing HR as a specialization during my MBA was also a process for me because back then finance was the number one choice followed by marketing. And I was good in finance, but something that was not very much intriguing to me. During my MBA, I did 3 internships. Though from a college perspective, I was mandatory to do only one, but I chose to do three. And these 3 internship I did in different aspect of HR, which is the corporate HR. I did it in a unionized environment. And I also did it in an environment which was more of a plant. It was a Tetra Pak plant with all white collar employees. So these internships really gave me a boost to decide on my career choice, which was the human resources. And being in HR definitely helped my understanding of people in an effective way. Also, my reading skills, my public speaking skills also grew in that role. And I really saw that being in the HR fraternity, we have an opportunity to make future leaders, to build future leaders. We have an opportunity to change things. And that really motivated me to be at the place where we can make a change. We can make a better place for our employees. We can make employee friendly policies. We can make employee friendly environment for them to strive to give their best. So it has a huge impact on my who am I today. The HR background is definitely a huge impact.
Oh, definitely. And you mentioned leadership development. I have a friend who's in L&D, and I know that there's so many components when it comes to L&D. Your particular focus is helping to really empower those internal leaders. What
Yes.
inspired you to shift your focus on internal leaders?
One thing is there are people who spend good time in an organization, and I feel or I have felt very bad when I saw great employees quitting on us. And one of the bigger reason for them to quit on us is because they did not see any opportunity inside the organization. And it's important for an organization to have a culture where internal employees are given preference over external leaders. If that does not happen, then the folks who have spent so many years with your organization, who have given their full dedication, they feel that they do not have an opportunity because new leaders are coming and they will not be able to go up in the ladder. So that really motivated me to create an environment where internal leaders are given preference. And for an organization to give preference to internal leaders, it is important for an L&D to prepare internal leaders in such a way that they can compete with the folks who are coming out from market. Because I believe that when we are working as an individual contributor, we learn the leadership traits from our own leaders. And if the leadership training is not given early on, they have already learned. And another aspect which I have experienced is it's fairly easy to learn something, but it is very difficult to unlearn something. So once you have learned the leadership traits, which may be good, which may not be good, it's very difficult for you to unlearn. And when you become a leader with those not so great practices, you are going for a failure, because you will not be able to take your people to the next level. You will not be able to delegate. You will not be able to promote them. You will not be able to give them environment, because if you have not seen that, you will not be giving it, because you don't know. And what you don't know, you don't know. So that was the real turning point for me. It was to ensure that our internal leaders are competent enough so that they can pitch in for the new roles that are coming in the organization, versus our organization looking for people from external marketplace.
I love that. And Rahul, I mentioned to you, and this is just my perspective, but I personally feel as though many companies miss the mark on leadership development.
Mhm.
When you are bringing someone into a company, when you're promoting someone, I always joke around and say companies give you this one day of training and say, okay, now you're a manager or senior manager or whatever it is, and you're leading a team, and they haven't really equipped you with the correct tools. I feel as though this is like a major space of development that companies should be working on. And sometimes they don't see it or they don't feel the need to invest in it. And I found it very interesting that you saw that and you wanted to focus on that, because someone has to take a stand at some point and say, wait a minute, what are we doing wrong? We have exceptional people. Maybe they're not excelling or we're not giving them the tools they need to succeed. You get the feedback on the surveys, and some people say they have no idea what they should be doing. And I know there's various components of a leadership role. You can be an individual contributor, not necessarily have a team, but there's certain qualities and skills that you still need to understand what your role is as a leader.
Absolutely, absolutely. And see, leadership would be very easy if it is not for people. My request to our leaders is have an attitude of a servant leader. Listen to your people and focus on how you can serve them. There was a research that was done, Gallup International. They polled close to 1 million employees, Angel, who thought they had a great boss. And Gallup asked them why they thought that they had a great boss. You will be amazed that the number one reason from that survey was that the boss or the leader was willing to listen to what they had to say. And at times when we are having our one-on-ones, we are so busy that we are not able to give attentive time to our direct reports. So leaders, do not forget that it is the little things, not the big ones, that will help you in earning respect from your people. So focus on your listening skills. Make sure that you are fully attentive. Make sure that you are having an eye contact. Keep your phones, keep your calendars, away. Switch off your laptop, and really focus on what your employees have to say, because that is the treasure for you. It may not be important for you, but it is very important for the person who has come to meet you. So do not let that go. That's very important.
Course. And I feel as though if more companies listen to their employees, they would really understand what needs to be done. And I feel like so much gets lost at the executive level and at those board levels, and they're not really like intertwined into the day to day. And so they're missing what's really needed in an organization. And the only people who can really fill that void and voice are the employees that are involved in day to day. So if they are on a team or if they're leading a team, the advice needs to be taken from all sides. So, Rahul, I'd like you to share some best practices for creating a culture that values and supports internal leadership.
Sure. And so before I share this, I just wanted to let the audience know that these are not all the things that I have done personally. There are a few things that I have done personally, but there are a few other things that I feel it is important for us to create that culture. And first and foremost, I would say is about the hiring. The people that you are hiring, hire people with an entrepreneurial mindset. If you want to cultivate the culture of internal leaders, which is called also as entrepreneurship, hire people with entrepreneurial mindset. That is number one. Number two would be foster the culture of continuous learning. Don't provide them leadership training when they are promoted. Provide it early on during their 0 to 6 months, 0 to 12 months period as well. Yes, they may not be using that skill, but that knowledge of what a leader does, it's also important from an individual contributor perspective so that they can get to know the perspective of a leader, why a leader is behaving the way they are behaving. If they know about those aspects, I think they will have a very good working relationship with their existing leaders. Number three, I would say, is provide opportunities, leadership opportunities. So, for example, if you have a concept of committees in your organization, uh, involve people in 0 to 6 months, 0 to 12 months tenure, have a dedicated appointment from that employee bracket group so that they can also participate, they can learn from the other committee members, and they can provide their inputs to make things better, whichever that committee is. Provide them those opportunities. That will be number three. And number four, I would say, is have a mentorship schedule or have a proper mentorship program for the individual contributors or for new leaders, because very rarely I have seen organizations are having a full-blown mentorship program. I have seen many organizations have mentorship program, but it's not as effective. For it to be effective, it is important that those mentors are really meeting with these people on a regular basis, and it's not just like something put on the calendar. Mentorship program is again an amazing opportunity. So these are the few things I would recommend. Number one, hire people with entrepreneurial mindset, have a culture of learning right from leadership training right early on rather than when they get promoted. Number three would be creating opportunities for new employees to showcase their leadership talent or to learn the leadership attributes to involve them in those committees. And number four is having a mentorship program, a full-blown mentorship program where leaders are really spending time with the newcomers. I understand that whoever leaders who will be part of this program, they will be very busy, but choose those people who are really committed towards this task, not for just for the checklist, but truly they are committed to build new leaders within the organization. So these are some of the techniques or some of the inputs that I will provide in order to build or cultivate new leaders in the organization, Angel.
And that's some really great advice. And I'm glad that you mentioned mentorship. That was really pulling into my next question. But when I think about companies that have these mentorship programs, I've seen some companies where it's mandatory that everyone needs to be a mentor and they randomly assign you someone. And I don't
Mhm.
think that should be how it works. I think you should really build a connection with someone genuinely and have that relationship and maybe ask someone to be your mentor. But I know a lot of those programs, it's we just pair you with this random person and you may not have a
Mhm.
connection, or mentorship is super important, coaching, sponsorship. And some people don't understand the difference between the three and understanding how do you have this network of people where you have someone say your name in the room when you're not there. That's having a sponsor. And of course, your mentor is working with someone directly and you have that cadence, but you can also have someone that coaches you. And companies don't necessarily hone in on the difference between the three. And
Right.
what I'd like to ask you, Rahul, is for someone listening whose company does not have a mentorship program, what's the best approach they can use to find a mentor?
The first one that is coming to my mind is ask for their time availability, because this is a committed program. This is something you may have to work beyond your normal working hours. So you need to be committed for the program, not just because you are good, you should be part of the program. Yes, you definitely have to be good to be a mentor, but you need to have time. So focus on asking for volunteers rather than pushing people to be on the program. That would be number one. Number two, have those people who have a very established credibility in the organization. Sometimes not all great leaders or great performers have good credibility in the company. It's unfortunate, but that's true. So my recommendation would be make sure that the people who are part of the mentorship program or who are mentors, they have a very good, their own credibility is good. They are walking the talk. They are echoing all the cultural values of the organization, leadership values. That is very important. And number three, there has to be a proper cadence where these mentors can provide an opportunity of day in life of themselves to the mentees. What I have seen is this is the mentorship just happens like over a call, or a Zoom call or a regular call, and it would be more effective if the mentees are being introduced to be part of their day's journey as to really observe how they are doing their task, how they are doing their meetings, how they are running their meetings, how they are having a conversation with their team. So that is also very important. So those will be the three quick things that I would recommend, Angel. Number one is volunteer, make sure that the mentors have real time and their intention is to help people. Number two, they have a good credibility. And number three, have an opportunity for them to give more time as to observe the mentees, just like day in life program. If they can have it, it would be very effective.
That's really great advice. And I typically get people reaching out and asking me to mentor them. And sometimes you just don't have the time or the bandwidth. So, for someone who's listening who has mentored others and maybe they have some busy period happening in their life, what's the best way to say no to mentoring someone? Because sometimes someone, they look up to you and they have built a rapport and they're like, I'd like this person to mentor me. And then they're let down and they may be discouraged from finding someone else. How do you easily let someone down if you don't have the time?
This is something I have done and I would recommend is to be very transparent and letting them know that I will not be able to do justice if we have to pair up together because of my current roles and responsibilities. But anytime I would be able to, you find a new mentor, but anytime when I'm available, I will definitely would be more than happy to connect with you. But if I am a dedicated mentor to you, I will not be able to do justice. This is something I would recommend, and being a transparent and being honest is very important rather than giving them some BS response, because people are very smart. They will be able to figure it out. So just be honest and transparent in responding to them about your unavailability. And whenever you have time, whenever you are available, just try to have one random call with them once in a month or once in 2 months based on your availability, and share your inputs, give your advice, give the words of wisdom to them so that they are able to learn from you.
Awesome. Thank you. Rahul, earlier you shared some best practices for creating a culture that supports internal leadership development. All of these different areas and programs, how can a company effectively measure if these programs are working?
One of the ways that we used to do, Angel, was to have a program which has inbuilt exercises or inbuilt, I do not want to call it homework, but build projects, wherein during the program, they were given some projects and we were able to gauge how effectively or how impactfully they are able to run those projects. That was number one. Number two, we were also allowing their leaders to delegate few tasks to the upcoming leaders and shadow them till they become proficient. In that way, we were able to understand whether the person is able to move up to the ladder or not. From an organization perspective, if you are able to fulfill your leadership needs internally based on the program that you are running, and I think there is no apple or oranges. Depends on organization to organization. If you have 10 open positions in 23 and you have to hire all 10 people from outside, and let's say because of the program in 24, you are able to hire 3 people from internal and 7 external, I think that would be a good way for you to measure your success, that 30% of your people came from internal, and maybe aim to have that 30% to maybe 50 or 60, depending on the industry that you are supporting or the organization that you are working for.
Those are great examples. And of course, when you're measuring effectiveness, sometimes companies find that something's not working or maybe something could be a bit better. I want to move on to the flip side of challenges. And when companies come across these challenges when implementing these programs, how can they overcome them? Should they give X amount of months or another year and see what happens with the program? Can you help us lay out like what a plan looks like to monitor?
One of the challenge that I see coming in making these programs successful is the involvement of all the key stakeholders. Many a times when we start such programs, we, not for the wrong reasons, but for the right reasons, we tend to miss involving all the major stakeholders. So it could be your mid-level folks, your upcoming leaders, your senior leadership, your HR, your L&D partner. Involve them and communicate with them the intention of making this program. Sometimes our intentions are right, but that is not being communicated, so it's not being taken seriously. So that is number one challenge I have seen. No proper communication, proper buy-in from all the stakeholders to overcome this challenge. And number two, when you are identifying people to be part of this program, you need to be very sure of who are those people. Your identification of those people is very important. Just because they are successful individual contributor does not mean that they will be great leaders. So you need to have a right assessment to measure their mindset, to measure their skills, and make them aware about the overarching goal that you have for building the culture of internal leaders. So that would be something I would recommend.
Definitely. Thank you so much. You've shared some great tips around developing internal leaders. And I feel like one thing that we didn't really talk about was continuous learning. And of course, we're talking about developing leaders, but the learning that companies offer. So a lot of companies have internal, as I call them, like internal reservoirs of mass trainings that you can take. And there's some companies that actually have like a training budget. You have to be approved to take training, which that is one thing in my experience in the corporate world that I feel like hindered my growth early on. It was always not enough money to get a certification or take a class. And I always encourage people to look towards opportunities outside of work. Don't necessarily limit yourself to those opportunities at work. But when it comes to continuous learning, what strategies can organizations use to encourage that with their employees?
Yeah, so I think when you mentioned about there are always a budgeting challenge that organization face, my recommendation would be that don't allow anyone else write your own destiny. So if you want to become a successful leader, if for some reason organization is not able to provide the opportunities that you are thinking that you need to have, invest in your own self. The best investment you can do is in yourself for the future. So that is number one. Number two, for organization, I would, in my experience, I have seen that more impact on the development of leaders is through effective coaching than the training. Training is important. Training provides you the knowledge, but it is the role of a coach that makes a difference, that makes you accountable. Organization can take help from external coaches or probably create a certified coach within their learning and development group so that the coaching is provided to these leaders, because I do believe that there has to be someone who is making them accountable for these things. And in my experience, I have seen the trainings are done, go very well, but post training, maybe 1 month, 2 months, after that, it just fizzle down because there is no one who is making them accountable. L&D keeps on doing different projects for different group of people. Managers are so busy with their own numbers or their own days. The good practice could be to have an external coach who can really work with these people and make them accountable for doing all the things that they are supposed to do and make them very great leaders for the future.
It's really great advice. And I love how you said you have to invest in yourself. I know Sometimes financially it can be a challenge for people, but you have to do what you have to do to get to the next level or whatever your end goal is. So I love that. Great advice.
Thank you.
And Rahul, we're almost to the end of the show. I feel like this can be a very long conversation, so we'll definitely have to have you back on to share some more tips down the road. But I'd love for you to talk to us about your books because you're also an author.
Yes, yes. I wrote two books. One, Habits for Miracles, Design Your Life Your Way, and second book was Be Action Oriented. Both these books were written with the focus on empowering others to take control of their life. And the reason for writing this book is based on my own journey, based on the experience that I had. And I do believe that we as an individual have a power to make things possible. We should not be focusing on that self doubt or that limiting beliefs. We always need to look at the positive of things that you can do. So it's all about the positivity. Have people around you who are giving you positive environment. Know your purpose. It's so important. A lot of us, we don't know what we are doing and why we are doing. And these books really help people to really know themselves and how they can create their own miracles. I would definitely recommend people for listening the show. If they reach out to me, I will be able to give them a free ebook of my book, Be Action Oriented. They just need to mention, Angel, your name of the show, and I will be more than happy to offer a free ebook, Be Action Oriented.
That sounds amazing. I'd love to check those books out. And for those who are tuning in, listening, how can they locate the books? Are they on Amazon, your website?
Yes, they are on Amazon as well as they are on my website, Mind Talks Matters. And if they just search the title of the books, they can find it on Amazon as well.
I would encourage everyone to check that out, learn more about Rahul. We'll list the links in the show notes. And Rahul, as we wrap up the show, I'd like to ask you a question around leadership. Of
Mhm.
course, you have some skin in the game. You've been in the industry for 20 plus years, but thinking back to your younger self, if you could share one piece of leadership advice, what would that be?
Um, One advice that I give to my kids also, Angel, and it's for my own self. Have a mentor early on in your life. This is something I was not having a right mentor or not a mentor early part of my life, of my career. And I feel so blessed that I have a mentors, I have right people around me. So if I have to go back, I will make sure that before I do anything, I identify a person who can give me direction, who can mentor me in all aspect of life, personal, professional. Folks listening to this show, if you don't have a mentor, make sure that you have a mentor who is giving you the right advice, right guidance at every walk of your life. It's very important.
Thank you for tuning into another inspiring episode of Leading Beyond Limits. If you enjoyed today's conversation and want to hear more from our incredible guests, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us. And if you have a remarkable leader in mind who you'd like to hear on our show or any questions and comments, feel free to reach out to us. You can find our contact information in the show notes. Remember, leadership knows no bounds, and with the right insights and determination, you too can lead beyond limits. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars and leading with purpose.